Hare Krishna, thank you for joining this morning. I hope you all had fun yesterday. It's amazing. And let's continue getting the bliss. Let's start Radha Madhava. Jai Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari, Jai Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari, Jaya Gopijana Vallabha, Jaya Gira Bhardhari, Jaya Gopijana Vallabha, Jaya Gira Bhardhari, Shodanandana Rajjana Ranjana, Shodanandana Rajjana Ranjana, Yamuna Tiravanachari, Jai Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari, Jai Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Go. Om Gyan Timnasya Gyananjana Shalakya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Staptam Yena Bhutle Swarupa Akadamayam Tatati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathamnitam Tam Sajiyam Sadhvetam Savadutam Krishna Setam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shiva Shakhanvitam Scha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kant Radha Kant Namastute Tapta Kanchan Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhano Sutadevi Pran Mami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatu Priyascha Kirpa Sindhu Bevacha Patitana Pavnebhyo Vaishnavyo Namo 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 Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pasthaya Putre Śrīmati Bhaktivedanta Swami Te Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschati Dishutarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasti Go Bhakt Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Mukham Kroti Vachalam Pangum Langyate Grim Yat Kirpatam Vandeshin Gurundin Taranam Paramnanda Madhvam Shitanya Ishwaram Hariyam Tassat Narayam Namaskritya Naram Cheva Naruttamam Devim Saraswatyasam Tadoje Madhuriyat Nasta Preshabdrisya Nityam Bhagavad-Sevayā Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Nestaki Hare Krishna. Right, so let's continue with the chapter 7, verse 6. Okay. So verse 6, last time we were discussing about Vyasadeva doing meditation into the pastimes of the Lords and on Lord's energies, so he could get an idea of what he's going to write about. He's just doing his homework, his research for that. And then it was also mentioned about the disease of the jiva, and the remedy for that disease was given as well. So we continue from there. So anartho pashamam sakshat bhakti yogam adokshaje lokasya janato vidmash chakre satvat samhitam. So anartha, things which are superfluous, upashanam, mitigation, sakshat, directly, bhakti yogam, the linking process of devotional service, adokshaje, onto the transcendence, lokasya, of the general mass of men, ajjanataha, those who are aware of, vidwan, the supremely learned, chakre, compiled, satvat, in relation with the supreme truth, samitam, Vedic literature. The material miseries of the living entity, which are superfluous to him, can be directly mitigated by the linking process of devotional service. But the mass of people do not know this, and therefore the learned Vyasadeva compiled this Vedic literature, which is in relation to the supreme truth. So it's simple as that, but we just don't know it due to our ignorance. Srila Vyasadeva saw the all-perfect personality of Godhead. This statement suggests that the complete unit of the personality of Godhead includes its parts and parcels also. He saw, therefore, his different energies, namely the internal energy, the marginal energy, and the external energy. He also saw his different plenary portions and parts of plenary portions. So, when they're saying that, I guess they mean the personality of these energies, in a form. They all have a form. Namely his incarnations also, and he specifically observed the unwanted miseries of the conditioned souls who are bewildered by the external energy. And at last he saw the remedial measure for the conditioned souls, namely the process of devotional service. It is a great transcendental science and begins with the process of hearing and chanting the name, fame, glory, etc. of the personality of Godhead. A revival of the dormant affection or love of God does not depend on the mechanical system of hearing and chanting, but it solely and wholly depends on the causeless mercy of the Lord. So we're not just reviving our dormant affection, we're also seeking the mercy of the Lord, because everything will only happen if the Lord decides, yes, I'm going to allow this to happen. Without his permission, we can do whatever for millions of births and nothing's going to happen. So we need to attract his mercy as well. When the Lord is fully satisfied with the sincere efforts of the devotee, so we have to be sincere, he may endow him with his loving transcendental service. But even with the prescribed forms of hearing and chanting, there is at once mitigation of the superfluous and unwanted miseries of material existence. Such mitigation of material affection does not wait for development of transcendental knowledge. Rather, knowledge is dependent on devotional service for the ultimate realization of the supreme truth. So knowledge is dependent. So knowledge can come from within, but it all depends on our sincere efforts. And it says here, we can get attention of Krishna. He's pleased when you glorify him. So that's one trick or tip. Say you should need to glorify him. So example, Putana wanted to serve Krishna as a mother. Krishna got pleased with her. Also in her previous life, she had a desire to have Krishna as her son. So, Krishna can, it's up to him. He can become pleased even from a demoness trying to kill him. So, we just have to try and pray to him to become pleased with our service. So we serve him, and it's not like we serve him and say, look, I'm serving you, so please note this, that I've done really hard work and I'm doing so many rounds for so many years. You serve him, and then you pray to him that please have some mercy on me, Lord, and hope I have been able to do something to make you happy, and please give me your causeless mercy. So, because whatever we're doing is not really a big deal for us, but in the biggest scheme of things, it's really not that big a deal. So we go to the next one. Yasyam vai Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Krishna param purushe bhakti utpadayate pumsa shok moha bhayapaha. So Yasyam, this Vedic literature, vai certainly Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, simply by giving oral reception, Krishna onto Lord Krishna, Param Supreme, Purusha onto the personality of Godhead, Bhakti, feeling of devotional service, Utpadayate, sprout up, Pumsha, of the living being, Shok, lamentation, Moha, illusion, Bhaya, fearfulness, Apaha, that which extinguishes. So simply by giving oral reception to this Vedic literature, the feeling for loving devotional service to Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, sprouts up at once to extinguish the fire of lamentation, illusion, and fearfulness. Amazing. So there are various senses of which the air is the most effective. This sense works even when he is deep asleep. One can protect himself from the hands of an enemy while awake, but while asleep, one is protected by the air only. The importance of hearing is mentioned here in connection with attaining the highest perfection of life, namely getting free from three material pangs. Everyone is full of lamentation at every moment. He is after the mirage of illusory things and is always afraid of his supposed enemy, or sometimes imaginary enemies, right? These are the primary symptoms of the material disease, and it is definitely suggested herein that simply by hearing the message of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, one gets attachment for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. And as soon as this is affected, the symptoms of the material disease disappear. Srila Vyasadeva saw that all perfect personality of Godhead, and in this statement, the all perfect personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, is clearly confirmed. The ultimate result of devotional service is to develop genuine love for the Supreme Personality. Love is a word which is often used in relation with man and woman. And love is the only word that can be properly used to indicate the relation between Lord Krishna and the living entities. The living entities are mentioned as Prakriti in the Bhagavad-Gita, and in Sanskrit, Prakriti is a feminine object. The Lord is always described as the Parampurush, or the Supreme Male Personality. Thus, the affection between the Lord and the living entity is something like that between the male and the female. Therefore, the term love of Godhead is quite appropriate, because in Goloka Vrindavan, everyone is a female, or there's only one Purusha. Loving devotional service to the Lord begins with hearing about the Lord. There is no difference between the Lord and the subject matter heard about him. The Lord is absolute in all respects, and thus there is no difference between him and the subject matter heard about him. Therefore, hearing about him means immediate contact with him by the process of vibration of the transcendental sound. And the transcendental sound is so effective that it acts at once by removing all material affections mentioned above. As mentioned before, a living entity develops a sort of complexity by material association, and the illusory engagement of the material body is accepted as an actual fact. Under such false complexity, the living beings under different categories of life become illusioned in different ways. Even in the most developed stage of human life, the same illusion prevails in the form of isms and divides the loving relationship with the Lord, and thereby divides the loving relation between man and woman. By hearing the subject matter of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, this false complexity of materialism is removed, and real peace in society begins, which politicians aspire for so eagerly in so many political situations. The politicians want a peaceful situation between man and man, nation and nation, but at the same time, because of too much attachment for material domination, there is illusion and fearfulness. Therefore, the politicians' peace conferences cannot bring about peace in society. It can only be done by hearing the subject matter described in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. So, in the material world, or when in the material platform, there is no peace formula, as mentioned in Bhagavad-Gita. On the material platform, there is no such thing as peace. It can only be done by hearing the subject matter described in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So only spirituality can solve the material problem. Material solutions cannot solve material problems, because material solutions solve one problem and at the same time side effects of creating a new problem. So it's not possible. And we see that in our lives, we think we solved a problem, but then we have created a side effect of that problem. Whether it's inventing things or our own plans. We sort out one thing, then you have to deal with something else related to that, or that's something that stems out of that solution. So, by hearing the subject matter of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, this false complexity of materialism is removed, and real peace society begins, which politicians aspire so eagerly in so many political solutions. So the politicians want a peaceful situation between man and man, nation and nation, but at the same time, so too much attachment for material domination, there is illusion and fearfulness. Therefore, the politicians' peace conference cannot bring about peace in society, can only be done by hearing the subject matter described in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. The foolish politicians may go on holding peace and summit conferences for hundreds of years, but they fail to achieve success. Until we reach the stage of re-establishing our relation with Krishna, the illusion of accepting the body as a self will prevail, and thus fearfulness will also prevail. As for the validity of Sri Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there are hundreds and thousands of evidences from the revealed scriptures, and there are hundreds and thousands of evidences from personal experiences of devotees in various places like Vrindavan, Navdeep and Puri. Even in Kaumudi dictionary, the synonyms of Krishna are given as the son of Yashoda and the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Brahman. The conclusion is that simply by hearing the Vedic literature, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, one can have direct connection with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. And thereby one can attain the highest perfection of life by transcending worldly miseries, illusion and fearfulness. These are practical tests for one who has actually given a submissive hearing to the readings of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Yeah, so, because our problem is we are thinking in a material way about everything, and that's why we're not able to find the peace, and we still have fears and illusion, because we're just seeing everything through the filter of material life. So hearing Bhagavatam is very important. It's not different from Krishna. By hearing we get knowledge. This Krishna conscious movement is for approaching Radha and Krishna. to be associated with the Supreme Lord in His sublime pleasure. And this is the aim of Krishna consciousness. And then it's just talking about the different energies of the Lord, the Sat, Chit and Anand. Sat existence, and Chit is knowledge, and Anand is bliss, and they are connected. Where does the Sat, Chit, Anand come from? Which energies provide this Sat, Chit, Anand? Because everything that transcendentally, everything that happens, there's Krishna's hand within that, and his energies are providing that facility for Sat, for existence, eternal existence. There's the Sandini Shakti, or as a power of creation. And there's the Chit, which is like knowledge, transcendental knowledge, comes from the Samvit Shakti. So highest is Sandini Shakti, and then you have the Samvit. Sorry, actually, it's not that way. I'll come back to that. Samvit Shakti, power of omniscience, right? And then Ananda, bliss, Haladini Shakti. So Haladini Shakti is actually the most superior. Then Samvit, and then Sandini. So I mean, these three energies, but of them Haladini is the most superior. The power of bliss, Ananda, and that's compared to Radharani, the eternal potency. So sa samitam bhagavatim kritpanu karmyacha atmajam shukam adhyapayam asa nivarti niritam munhi. So sa, that samitam, Vedic literature, bhagavatim, in relation with the personal Godhead, kritva, having done, anu karmya, by correction and repetition, cha, and atamjam, his own son, Shukam, Shukadev, Goswami, Adhyapayam, as taught, Nivarti, path of self-realization, Niratam, engaged, Muni, the sage. So the great sage Vyasadeva, after compiling the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam and revising it, taught it to his own son, Shri Shukadeva Goswami, who was already engaged in self-realization. So he started with his son, and he taught him everything he knew about Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is a natural commentation on the Brahma Sutras compiled by the same author. This Brahma Sutra or Vedanta Sutra is meant for those who are already engaged in self-realization. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is so made that one becomes at once engaged in the path of self-realization simply by hearing the topics. So powerful this is. Although it is especially meant for Paramahansas or those who are totally engaged in self-realization, it works into the depths of the hearts of those who may be worldly men. I mean, there's one time ordinary people weren't allowed to hear this. These are only for the Paramahansas, for the learned. But now everybody has access, especially thanks to Srila Prabhupada, who has given translations for these. Worldly men are all engaged in sense gratification, but even such men will find in this Vedic literature a remedial measure for their material diseases. Shukadeva Goswami was a liberated soul from the very beginning of his birth, and his father taught him Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Amongst mundane scholars, there is some diversity of opinion as to the date of compilation of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. It is, however, certain from the text of Bhagavatam that it was compiled before the disappearance of King Parikshit and after the departure of Lord Krishna. So that makes sense, because King Parikshit was Shukadeva Goswami recited Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam to King Parikshit, so it was already done before him, and it was after the departure of Lord Krishna, as mentioned. So according to the revealed scriptures and astrological calculations, the age of Kali is in its 5,000th year. Therefore, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam was compiled not less than 5,000 years ago. Mahabharata was compiled before Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam and the Puranas were compiled before Mahabharata. So that's the order. That is an estimation of the date of compilation of different Vedic literatures. So the synopsis of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam was given before the detailed description under instruction of Narad. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is the science for following the path of Nivritti Marg. The path of Pravirti Marg was condemned by Narad. The path is the natural inclination for all conditioned souls. The theme of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is the cure of the materialistic disease of the human being or stopping completely the pangs of material existence. So Vyasadeva repeatedly glorified the Lord in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Bhagavatam purifies the heart just by hearing, no effort required, even by passively hearing, if the heart is being purified. The way to dissolve the false ego is with Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. So this is the benefits of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. If we hear and apply it, then we move even faster. So just by hearing, there's benefit, but if you hear it and then apply the message, that's the real progress. Just like no effort is required to travel on a travelator, but if you start walking with it, you can reach your destination quicker. So we do have this tendency, say like at the airport or something, from one side to the other is a long way, and we use the travelator, but then we have the tendency to start walking at the same time. So if you're just hearing, that's like the travelator. You're standing there doing nothing, you're hearing, you're getting benefit, so you're moving forward. But if your travelator is moving and you start moving with it, then that's like hearing and actually taking action as well on the travelator. You move with the travelator though. You actually do the walking as well, so that speeds up things even more. So it's compared to that. So Shonak Vacha Save Nivirti Nirtha Sarvatro Pakshako Muni Kasyava Bharatim Etam Atmarama Sambhaya Sat. So Shonak Vacha, Sri Shonak asked, Sahe vai, of course, Nivirti on the path of self-realization, Niratha, always engaged, Sarvatra in every respect, Opekshakaha indifferent, Muni sage, Kasya for what reason, Va o Brahmatim, Vast etam this, Atam aramha, one who is pleased in himself, Samabhaisya Bhaya Sat, undergo the studies. So Sri Shonak asked Sutta Goswami, Sri Shukadeva Goswami was already on the path of self-realization, and thus he was pleased with his own self. So why did he take the trouble to undergo the study of such a vast literature? Yeah, because like he was self-realized in the womb of his mother. That's why he didn't want to come out, and yet he still went and studied Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. He already knew everything, or he already had what Bhagavatam would have given him. He already had it. So why did he go and study this? So, the Shonak Rishi is curious to find out. So Srila Prabhupada explains that for the people in general, the highest perfection of life is to cease from material activities and be fixed on the path of self-realization. That's us. Those who take pleasure in sense enjoyment, or those who are fixed in material body welfare work, are called karmis. Out of thousands or millions of such karmis, one may become an Atmaram by self-realization. Atma means self, and Aram means to take pleasure. Everyone is searching after the highest pleasure, but the standard of pleasure of one may be different from the standard of another, depending on which mode we are connected with, right? So therefore, the standard of pleasure enjoyed by the karmis is different from that of the Atmarams. The Atmarams are completely indifferent to material enjoyment in every respect. Srila Shukadeva Goswami had already attained that stage, and still he was attracted to undergo the trouble of studying the great Bhagavatam literature. This means that Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is a postgraduate study even for the Atmarams, who have surpassed all the studies of Vedic knowledge. Sorry, I just want to check that again. Everyone is searching after the highest pleasure, but the standard of pleasure of one may be different from the standard of another. Therefore, the standard of pleasure enjoyed by the karmis is different from that of the Atmarams. The Atmarams are completely indifferent to material enjoyment in every respect. Srila Goswami had already attained that stage, and still he was attracted to undergo the trouble of studying the great Bhagavatam literature. This means Bhagavatam is a postgraduate study, even for the Atmarams. Okay, it's nice. So Shukadeva Goswami was an Atmaram, was already realized. Why did he to study the vast Bhagavatam? Atmarams are at the level of zeros. Karmis are going to the minus level. So explained here, the Atmarams have at the zero level, karmis are at sub-zero level. They are in the minus position. The Atmaram, that's like the Brahman state, takes pleasure in themselves with spiritual energy, and they are satisfied. The Atmaram means full of neutrality. So they are indifferent, as is mentioned here. No exploitation, yet no loving service either. They're not doing any kind of, they're Brahman level, they're not serving any personality. On the path of bhakti, by serving the Lord, you get more and more happiness. So saying that Atmaram is not necessarily the highest level. It's just it's not a sub-zero level. It's just blank, and there's a lot to gain from that position. That's the position, that's like the launching position really, and by devotional service you move forward or move higher. Okay, so 10. Sutavacha atmaramischa munyo nirgrantha api urukrame kurvanti hetu kim bhaktim itham bhuta guno harihi. Suta Vacha, Suta Goswami said, Atma Rama, those who take pleasure in the Atma, or generally spirit self, Cha, and also Muniha sages, Nir Grantha, freed from all bondage, Api, in spite of, Urukrame, onto the great adventurer, Kurvanti, do Ahitukim, unalloyed Bhaktim, devotional service, Itham Bhuta, such wonderful Guna, qualities, Hari, of the Lord. So Suta Goswami said, all different varieties of Atmarams, those who take pleasure in the Atma or spirit self, especially those established on the path of self-realization, are freed from all kinds of material bondage, desire to render unalloyed devotional service unto the personality of Godhead. This means that the Lord possesses transcendental qualities and therefore can attract everyone, including liberated souls. So, first thing to understand is that just being an Atmaram is not enough. We're not looking to just take pleasure in the soul, in the Atma. We have more work to do, and we're not looking for liberation either. We're just looking to serve the Lord, because that's where the real happiness lies. So Lord Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explained this Atmaram Shloka very vividly before his chief devotee, Srila Sanatana Goswami. So Lord Chaitanya was well known for his Atmaram Shloka in Chaitanya Charitamrita as explained, and he could explain it in so many different ways. So he points out 11 factors in the shloka of the Atmaram. So this is the shloka. So Atmaram Munya Nirgrantha Apicha Urukrama Kurvanti Haitukam Bhaktim Idam Bhuta Guna and Hari. So according to the Vishwa Prakash Sanskrit dictionary, there are 7 synonyms for the word Atma. So there's similarities, or Atma can be described in many ways, in 7 ways at least. Atma can be referred to as Brahman. It can be referred to as body. Brahman in this case is the absolute truth. It can refer to as the body. It can refer to as the mind or the endeavor of the endurance, intelligence, personal habits. So in Bhagavad-Gita, it's like that. Atma, the word Atma is used interchangeably in many shlokas, and it can mean different things in a different shloka. The word Munya refers to those who are thoughtful, or can be those who are grave and silent, or ascetics, the persistent, mendicants, sages, saints. So it can refer to so many different categories. The word Nir Granth conveys these ideas. One who is liberated from nescience, one who has no connection with scriptural injunction, who is freed from the obligation of rules and regulations mentioned in the revealed scriptures like ethics, Vedas, philosophy, psychology, and metaphysics. In other words, the fools, illiterate, urchins, etc., who have no connection with the regulative principles, or can be capitalist, or one who is penniless. So, the point is that each word can be explained in so many different meanings or synonyms. So, the explanation of Atmaram can change as well. There can be so many different explanations for that. So according to Shabad Kosha dictionary, the affix ni is used in the sense of certainty, counting, building, and forbiddance, and word grantha is used in the sense of wealth, thesis, vocabulary, etc. And the word urukrama means the one whose activities are glorious. Karma means step. This word urukrama specifically indicates the Lord's incarnation as the Vamandev, who covered the whole universe by immeasurable steps. Lord Vishnu is powerful and his activities are glorious, that he has created the spiritual world by his internal potency and the material world by his external potency. By his all-pervading features, he is everywhere present as the supreme truth, and in his personal feature, he is always present in his transcendental abode of Goloka Vrindavan, where he displays his transcendental pastimes in all variegatedness. His activities cannot be compared to anyone else's, and therefore the word Urukrama is just applicable to him only. So Urukrama, the one whose activities are glorious. So only the Lord's activities can be described glorious or most glorious. So according to Sanskrit verbal arrangement, kurvanti refers to doing things for someone else. Therefore, it means that the Atma Ramas render devotional service unto the Lord, not for personal interest, but for the pleasure of Lord Urukrama. Hetu means causal. There are many causes for sense gratification, and they can be chiefly classified as material enjoyment, mystic powers, and liberation, which are generally desired by progressive persons. As far as material enjoyments are concerned, they are innumerable, and the materialists are eager to increase them more and more because they are under illusionary energy. But anyway, we won't read all of it, but the point is that Atma Rams, the conclusion of the Atma Ram verse is that it's about devotional service. That's the underlining factor, the devotional service. So you can read this yourselves. You can read about Atma Rama's verse. You can read all this verse in your own time. So that's fine. And just to add, the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is able to satisfy those who are already self-satisfied. This is the quality of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. And what about those who are suffering and unsatisfied? And if you can satisfy the satisfied, what about the ones who are, suffering? Definitely satisfy them. So this Atma Ram verse is discussed in Chaitanya Charitamrita as well. Sarvabhauma Acharya or Bhattacharya gave 9 understandings, and Mahaprabhu gave 61 understandings to the Atma Ram verse. And like some moments, he realized that this can only be God Himself, nobody else. I thought 9 was like big deal, and he thought himself as a big scholar. And here comes Lord Chaitanya, 61 explanations, and which were perfect. I realized this is the supreme personality of Godhead Himself. Nobody else has that capability. So devotional service is not just devotional service, it intensifies and becomes more and more pure as one progresses on this path. According to the purity of love, intensity of love, and the unalloyed nature of the love. So from mixed bhakti to pure Raganuga Bhakti, as it develops on this level, a different rasa or intensity is developed with the Lord. So this progression, it changes as we develop. So if your attachment on an inactive devotee, as an inactive devotee, that's like Shantaras. Attachments of an active servitor devotee develops into Dasyaras, and friendly devotee into Sakiras, and also parental ras. Devotee in conjugal love develop a state of separation. So different rasas are different intensities of relationships. So here we go. That explains the power of devotional service. So the Atmanam verse talks about devotional service, and then we're talking about the power of devotional service, and then like what is our relationship with the Lord, in which relationship are we with the Lord, and we serve Him according to that relationship. There is no relationship which is, in generally no relationship is higher and lower, because when that's our natural relationship, you will feel the happiness to your core, because that's your relationship. You're happy within that relationship. Although Madhura Ras is considered the highest relationship, but yeah, for those who are meant to be, or who have that relationship. But if you have a Sakhya Ras or parental Ras, and you're happy in that, they can't say, oh no, I should be in a different category. No, because that is your natural rasa. That's where you are happy. That's the service you're happy doing. So for you, that is your best, the highest level. Okay, so we leave it here. I'm going to hear from yourselves, and we'll start with the Pundikaksh Prabhu. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Yeah, I think I felt like every one verse requires 1 week of explanation. That's what I felt, Prabhuji.
Hard for me yesterday, Prabhu.
But they have that in-depth information as well, socially given by Srila Prabhupada. So I love the word like Adokshaja, who is beyond the material senses. So as we are covered with our material thing, we will not be able to see Krishna as Krishna himself. Like in Ishopanishad, it says, Hiranyamaya Patrena. We are covered, he is covered by that golden effulgence, and we cannot see him unless we become pure from internally and externally, both. So Bhagavatam, I mean, we have got so many scriptures, but again, Bhagavatam is the ripened fruit. So Bhagavatam has everything in it which can help us to clean inside, outside, and get connected to Sri Krishna. And I was just remembering this past time where Lord Shiva was behind this Shukadev Goswami when he was a parrot, and listening to Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam when Lord Shiva was explaining Bhagavatam to Mother Parvati. and he got angry on parrot, and he was behind the parrot to kill the parrot, because Bhagavatam is such a kind of knowledge that not everybody should be able to understand it and may try to misuse the information. So that much powerful the Bhagavatam is. But again, Srila Prabhupada has given us in a way by which we can understand it easily. Um, and yeah, for me, that was only Prabhuji.
Thank you so much. Yeah. So we are really blessed in Kali Yuga that everyone has access, but we are blessed that we have the access, but most of us don't want it. We reject it because it comes so easily that we don't appreciate it. I think that's probably the underlying reason, that things that come easily, we have this tendency to trying to get things that are out of our reach. We feel fulfillment in that, but things that come readily available to us, we take them for granted. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Kiran Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, everybody. I'm just rendered speechless every morning because for years and years we've gone into academic institutions and we wasted time. We wasted time with mundane knowledge, mundane aspects of developing ourselves. That's fine. Okay, it's a means to an end. It's a practical kind of a knowledge. But this is the font of all knowledge. And therefore, why do we go to university and why do we become an apprentice? Because ultimately, part of the aim is to get some money. But money is not sweeter than honey. And at the end of the day, there is nothing more sweeter than love. And that love is for the Paramatma, the divine. To gain that beautiful relationship between the Atma and the Paramatma is embedded in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam and the Chaitanya Chamrita, as well as the Bhagavad-Gita. Listen to these scriptures carefully. Hearing is the first port of call. Hear the Vedas, hear them attentively. Hear the confidential knowledge and then decipher the code. This is not accessible to everybody. And even Keshav Maharaj used to say, this was gobbledygook at first.
Mm-hmm.
When I first came across the Upanishads, the Vedas, I thought, what? What is this? This is hieroglyphics, But ultimately, when we surrender to the sages, surrender to Krishna, because it's Krishna who's behind the sages, and it's Krishna who's behind everything that happens, including the difficulties, atrocities, and all the things that happen, because it makes us realize that we are just puppets in this arrangement. And the sooner we recognize and understand that, surrender to Krishna, and to realize that ultimately that service to the divine is going to be our road to salvation. That connection between the Atma that we have and the developing of that Atma to become an Atma Ram, and then becoming that relationship to the spark of divinity we all have, is part of the journey. Don't make our lives too complicated. Just keep serving till you drop. Don't ask for rewards, because he will decide what's best for you, or each one of us. Serve. He knows what's best for us. And ultimately, don't hanker for rewards. We are so blessed with the rewards of being with each other, being in the presence of Jagannath, being in the presence of divinity that was pervaded all around the streets of Birmingham. And what more can you ask for? We're living in, this is a taste of utopia. And we are in heaven in a form, but we know there is an attachment to Maya. And if we just get a little taste of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam and attend to it with relish, care, and with surrender and reverence, that's all that's required. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yes, thank you so much, Prabhuji, for the explanation. Very nice. I think Hina Mataji is driving, Suresh Prabhu is probably driving as well. So we'll ask Radharani to say something.
Hare Krishna, everyone. My pranams to you. I hope you are still high on the joys, the intoxication, the spiritual intoxication we all had yesterday. And it's so blissful that we must have done something right, that right next day to the getting high on the spiritual highs, and we are getting these verses to hear. And the real crux, we always think that when we are reading the verses that this is the highest verse, but no, there's the more to come. And in this one, Atmaram verse, as it appears in Chaitanya Charitamrita as well, and how many types explanations are given by Mahaprabhu in that, when you read first that you just get dazed that 9 explanations given by Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, they were hard enough to understand, and then 61, and amazing. But end of those explanations is nicely explained, as was explained just now in the class, that it's the devotional service. End of the day, we all aspiring for devotional service, which is ahetuki and apratihata, which should be unconditional and unmotivated. And it's so difficult because in this world to earn even bread and butter, even all the little species we see around us, the birds and the beasts, even they have to be motivated for the reward. And when somebody goes outside to work, earn their living, they have to have motivation. That's why there's a new crop of the people, a new occupation, we can say, of the 21st century, the motivational speakers out there. So yeah, it's there on the plate for us. It's not difficult to understand, and we can complicate it as we want. Sometimes we think, okay, we are doing Vaidhi Bhakti, we are apprentices, we are trying to get rid of the Anartha Nivritti, then we will go to the other stages, the Nishtha, the Ruchi, and slowly we'll get Bhava and Prema. But we don't have to worry about any of these. All we have to do is we do in our best abilities how Krishna has made our psychophysical nature. We will understand what our rasa is. Do we like the deity worship better? Do we like to worship Lord in the parental mood, or the Vatsalya, what's the other one, friendship mood, and the rest of the moods?
Vatsalya, Madhura.
Yeah, and Madhurya.
Dasya.
Actually, we shouldn't be even worried about anything. Our soul is slowly going to, as we keep doing something every day, as we get better in the material life as well, similarly it will just appear to us, and it comes without any difficulty. So thank you, Srila Prabhupada, for decoding all these to us, and thank you Vyasadeva ji and Narad Muni ji. Narad Muni inspired Vyasadeva ji, and who was Vyasadeva? Krishna himself came as Vyasadeva. So the humility has been taught. What is humility? They taught us last week, we were hearing, and now we are hearing what is Atmaram. Atmaram is not complicated. Mahaprabhu in the end says it's just devotional service, the best of the devotional service which we can do. And Patram Pushpam he even says in the Bhagavad-Gita. So how much more easy can God make the steps for us? The formula is very nice, simple, and like we were being told in the class, there is no peace formula in this material world apart from devotional service. So let's hold on to this formula and ask for the Acharyas and the Lordship's blessings and everyone present here that we are able to do something for Lord in this life, to help Lord in his mission in this life. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. And even like doing the Rath Yatra yesterday, we are spreading the message, different messages to different people. And today the Lord is giving his darshan to everyone, and they get purification just by seeing the Lord, seeing the devotees, hearing the Mahamantra. But at the same time, we are passing the message of love and peace, right? That is, showing people that, look, this is what unity is all about. There's different colors of people, different nationalities are together. You can be one. You can be a one unit and create something beautiful like that as one. We don't have to be divided. We can work together and have a wonderful, peaceful.
Yeah, just on that note, I would like to share with everyone that yesterday on the donation table, Prabhu came. He was a white-bodied person, and he had like long, semi-matted hairs, and he just had like a backpack on him, but he had the tilak on. And he gave a good donation, but that, like, looking at him, you would just think he's a traveler kind of personality. He was not very old, not very young, just a middle-aged person, and he was so blissed out, and didn't even get a chance to ask him where he had come from, if he was like follower of Srila Prabhupada or he was just traveling through here. Then this another Mataji, she came, and she was from Australia. Her accent gave it away, and she gave the donation and all that, and we just kept saying to her, take some books as well, give it to somebody. She goes, I've got loads of books in my temple, use these in your temple or give it to somebody who is going to appreciate more, because she was obviously part of the mission. So many varieties of people, people from all walks of life, they came to the table, and as we were walking around in the queues, and some were like just passing by. Are these Hare Krishnas like the English people say? I said, yes, we are Hare Krishnas, and I see this every year. So some hadn't got much explanation about what was going on. So it was all Krishna's arrangements, that some had seen it for a few years, but they finally plucked the courage to speak up on the day. So this shows that the causeless mercy comes when the fruit of our devotional service is also nearly ready to do something for Krishna. And even the youngsters, they came asking where I can get water from. And I said, where there's free vegetarian food next to it. And I told them, many of them, that you can have free vegetarian food as well. So some youngsters are, really, they can be from any background, but they are ready for that mercy. So they happen to be there.
Yeah, but mercy is there in different ways. Okay, so thank you so much.
Yes.
Let's leave it here. It's over 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
And we'll catch up again on Wednesday.
Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hari Hari.
Hari Hari.
Haribo.
Hare Krishna.